His father's hand landed between his shoulder blades with a resounding thud, a gesture meant to convey pride. Logan Crawford told his youngest son that he, at least, was still a man's man. A wave of nausea surged through Sterling, and he clamped a hand over his mouth, mumbling an excuse about needing the restroom. He was pregnant, a fact that felt more like a cosmic joke than a medical reality. The last family gala, a blur of champagne and excessive celebration, was the epicenter of his current predicament. He'd had too much to drink. He vaguely remembered his 3 older brothers, Adrian, Blake, and Cody, arguing over who would help him to his room. He couldn't recall who won. The only memory that pierced the alcoholic haze was the sharp, tearing pain deep in his thighs the next morning. Months later, a doctor with a placid expression had informed him that the fetus was developing normally. Sterling had thought it was a load of crap. A man couldn't just get pregnant. Yet, clutching the ridiculous sonogram photo and battling another bout of morning sickness, he had been forced to accept the impossible. The doctor had explained it was a recent phenomenon, a rapid evolutionary shift affecting a small percentage of the population, with more and more men presenting with pregnancies. The medical community was scrambling for answers, but for now, they guaranteed complete confidentiality. He also suggested Sterling bring his partner to the next appointment. The clinic's hallway was an unnerving sight. Every few feet, a delicate-looking young man was curled into his boyfriend's arms, weeping softly. It was all too surreal. His one goal was to keep this a secret from everyone. He had just finished retching into the toilet when he looked up. Blake, his perpetually suave and roguish second brother, was leaning against the bathroom doorframe, a smirk playing on his lips. He asked why Sterling had bolted while their father was giving a speech. Sterling, in no mood for banter, tried to shoulder past him, but Blake's arm shot out, encircling his waist. Blake wondered aloud if he was pregnant. Sterling froze. How could he possibly know? A cold dread washed over him. Blake's hand started to drift toward his abdomen. Blake noted with a raised eyebrow that he'd seen Sterling getting sick several times lately, joking about morning sickness. As his fingers neared their target, Sterling slapped his hand away, pinning him against the door. He demanded to know if it had been Blake at the gala, if he was the one who had taken him to his room. Leaning back, Blake chuckled, a low, smooth sound. He playfully tapped Sterling under the chin, confirming that his favorite brother had indeed been the one to rescue him. Blake's reputation as a ladies' man was legendary, but Sterling never imagined he would cross this line. Just as Sterling's fist tightened, Blake held up his hands in surrender. He admitted that he'd only gotten Sterling halfway down the hall before their third brother, Cody, had intercepted them. Blake claimed it was no secret that Cody checked on Sterling every night after he fell asleep, so he had simply handed him over. Sterling was floored. He demanded to know what Cody was doing in his room every night. Realizing he'd said too much, Blake clapped a hand over his mouth, insisting it wasn't his secret to tell and begging Sterling not to mention his name. Sterling pressed him, elbowing him lightly, asking how he knew to joke about the pregnancy. Blake shrugged, saying it was just a random guess. Obviously a man couldn't get pregnant. He seemed genuinely unaware. Sterling decided the night probably wasn't Blake's fault, then turned to find Cody. Still, a stray thought bothered him. As he'd turned, his stomach had brushed against Blake's hand, and he'd seen a flicker of confusion in his brother's eyes. Blake had frowned, muttering a question about when Sterling's stomach had gotten so firm. Cody was the quiet intellectual, the bookish one. The idea that he was capable of something so clandestine was baffling. Sterling burst into his room without knocking. Cody, fresh from a shower with only a towel wrapped around his waist, looked startled. Consumed by a righteous fury, Sterling launched himself at his brother, sending them both tumbling onto the bed. He got right in Cody's face and demanded to know why he was sneaking into his room every night. Cody, struggling to keep his towel in place, pleaded with him to calm down. Sterling repeated the question, his voice low and menacing. Cody's eyes darted away as he denied it, claiming Sterling must have been mistaken. Sterling told him Blake had confessed everything. Cody's composure shattered. He stammered, his words tripping over each other, asking what Blake had said. The stuttering confession was all the proof Sterling needed. He had found the father. This quiet, unassuming brother was the reason his life had been turned upside down. As he held Cody down, his mind reeled. He couldn't believe it was him. Just as he was about to accuse him of everything, another wave of intense nausea hit. He released Cody and scrambled for the bathroom. When he emerged, wiping his mouth, Cody was gone. His phone went straight to voicemail. A glance out the window revealed Cody's sedan tearing out of the driveway as if fleeing a crime scene. It had to be him. Why else would he run? Sterling chased after him but was stopped at the front door by his father, who watched Cody's retreating car with a scowl. "Mr." Crawford cursed his luck, wondering what he'd done to deserve 3 sons who would never give him grandchildren. He draped a heavy arm over Sterling's shoulders, his tone shifting to one of warmth. He told Sterling that he was his only hope now, and that the entire Crawford family enterprise would one day be his. The weight of the declaration was immense. As the family's only straight man, his father continued with a cheerful grin. It was his duty to carry on the family name. He wanted a big, healthy grandson. The irony was suffocating. If the child was ever born, Sterling wondered what he would call his father, Grandpa, or something else. And what would his father call Cody? He forced a tight smile and asked, cautiously, if it mattered who the mother was. His father laughed, even more pleased, misinterpreting the question as a sign that Sterling had already found a girlfriend. Sterling quickly corrected him, his expression stiff, promising that he would produce an heir one way or another. His father waved a dismissive hand, declaring that background and wealth didn't matter. Sterling then asked his father how his blood pressure had been lately. The unplanned intervention had allowed Cody to escape. Sterling spent the rest of the day bombarding his brother's phone with calls and texts, which all went unanswered. He sent a final, furious message demanding an explanation, asking if Cody intended to ruin their family. He stopped short of revealing the pregnancy. As evening fell and Cody still hadn't returned, Sterling's anger solidified into a cold resolve. If he wanted to be a coward, he could hide forever. At dinner, his eldest brother, Adrian, arrived home from an overseas business trip. He was a man carved from granite, all sharp angles and quiet intensity. Over the meal, his father casually announced that the company would go to Sterling once he was married with a child. Adrian's face hardened. He argued that based on qualifications and experience, he was the obvious choice to take over. Their father just scoffed, asking why Sterling wasn't capable. Adrian's competitive nature was well known, but then he did something unexpected. Underneath the heavy oak dining table, his hand found Sterling's stomach. Sterling's fork froze halfway to his mouth. He met Adrian's gaze. Below the table, Adrian's rough, calloused hand explored the slight swell of his abdomen with a methodical, unsettling confidence. Sterling didn't dare move. Adrian gave him a long, meaningful look, a faint smile touching his lips. He informed their father that Sterling might not be the heir he was looking for. Sterling's mind raced. How could Adrian know? Of all the brothers, Adrian was the one he truly feared. He was perpetually stern, never offering a kind word. Couldn't be him, He didn't even like Sterling. Besides, he was sure it was Cody. Adrian withdrew his hand. Sterling, unnerved, reached for a piece of salad, but Adrian's large hand landed on his back, steering him away from the spicy dressing. Adrian's voice was low as he advised Sterling to avoid spicy foods for now. His head was spinning. Then Blake chimed in, agreeing that he should lay off the spice. His mind was a complete mess. He couldn't eat another bite. He had been so certain about Cody, but now nothing was certain at all. After dinner, Adrian grabbed his wrist, his eyes burning with ambition. He told Sterling that regardless of their father's wishes, the company would be his. When Cody finally returned home, he avoided Sterling's gaze, but Sterling no longer had the energy to confront him. If Blake had been guessing, then maybe Cody's panic was just a reaction to being falsely accused. In the following days, his life became a confusing gauntlet. Adrian would frequently and casually touch his stomach. Blake would find excuses to pinch his waist or lean in close, his breath warm against Sterling's cheek. And at night, he lay awake, listening for Cody's footsteps. His sleep was plagued by nightmares of his stomach expanding to fill the room before bursting, releasing a horde of infants who crawled across the floor, all demanding to know which of his 3 brothers was their father. The immense stress and his growing belly became unbearable. He had to get out. He sent a message to the one person he thought he could trust, a senior from college. He asked Sean if he could stay at his place for a few days. Sean was known for being cool and detached, so Sterling wasn't optimistic. But he was his only option. To his surprise, Sean replied almost instantly. He said it was fine for as long as Sterling needed. A flurry of messages followed, Sean offering to pick him up, then retracting it, asking when he would arrive, retracting that too, before finally just stating that he was on his way. Relief washed over Sterling. He sent one more message, telling Sean he had a secret and that he needed him to swear he wouldn't tell a soul. Sean's reply was simple and immediate. He promised to keep any secret of Sterling's. By the time Sean picked him up, the stress had manifested as a raging fever. He was barely coherent as he collapsed onto Sean's large, comfortable bed. Sean began gently removing his outer layers of clothing. When he got to the last shirt, Sterling's hand shot out to stop him, his voice weak. He told him not to, that if he took it off, his secret would be exposed. Sean respected his wish, instead bringing him broth and medicine. Sterling fell into a deep, fever-induced sleep. The nightmares returned, worse than before. His belly grew to the size of a planet, filling the entire universe before it popped like a balloon, releasing an infinite number of children who swarmed him, pulling at his limbs, their cries of daddy echoing in the void. His body grew hotter and hotter, shaking uncontrollably. Suddenly, a cool surface pressed against his back, and a cool body wrapped around him. A distant voice called his name. He couldn't hear it over the cacophony of his dream children. His head felt like it was going to explode. He thrashed, shouting that he wasn't their father, and his lips collided with something soft. His eyes snapped open. He was in Sean's arms, their mouths pressed together. They stared at each other for a long moment before Sterling scrambled back, apologizing profusely. Sean, his face flushed, said it was okay, that he didn't mind. The fever had broken, and the headache was starting to recede. Sterling thanked Sean for taking him in. Sean waved it off, but his curiosity was evident. He asked why Sterling didn't want to be at home, mentioning that his brothers always seemed so good to him. Sterling explained that they were the danger, that he felt safer here. A flicker of something unreadable crossed Sean's face. He asked if Sterling had thought of him first or if he'd asked anyone else. Sterling assured him he was the first and only person he'd considered. A deeper blush crept up Sean's neck. He asked why. The truth was simple. Sean was the most discreet person he knew. If he'd told any of his other friends, the story of his pregnancy would be on the evening news by morning. Sean suddenly sniffed the air, a strange expression on his face. He told Sterling he smelled good. He then began to speak in a rush, telling Sterling that he'd always thought he was special but never had the chance to say so. He confessed that when Sterling hadn't replied to his messages after that one night, he'd assumed Sterling was angry and wanted nothing to do with him, that after what had happened, they could never be friends. He said since Sterling clearly considered him his closest confidant, maybe they could. Sterling cut off the rambling, not understanding a word. He leaned in conspiratorially and told Sean he had a secret to share. Sean's eyes widened. He said he had a secret to tell Sterling, too. He paused, then urged Sterling to go first. Sterling opened his mouth, but the words wouldn't come. How could he explain that he, a man, was pregnant? It sounded insane. Sean, noticing his hesitation, remembered his nightmare. He mentioned that Sterling had been yelling about not being a father. An idea sparked in Sterling's mind. He could rephrase it. He wouldn't mention his own body was the one carrying the child. That was a detail for another time. A normal person would think he was crazy. He couldn't risk Sean kicking him out. So he chose his words carefully. He told Sean that his secret was just that. He was going to be a father. Sean's face fell. The expression was one of pure, unadulterated devastation. He couldn't believe Sterling had been so indirect, and yet the news was still so hard to take. Sterling pressed on, reminding Sean to keep it quiet. He then asked what secret Sean had wanted to share. Sean's eyes were red-rimmed. He mumbled that he had no secret to tell. That night, Sean posted a cryptic message online. My powerlessness has become my downfall. Living with Sean was peaceful, though a new tension hung in the air. Sean cooked for him 3 times a day, but at night, he tossed and turned beside Sterling, his breathing heavy and strained. Sterling, scrolling through his phone, saw another post from Sean appear for a split second. Bodies in revolt. Hands won't stop shaking inside my pockets. It vanished. Then another, get a grip, Sean. That vanished too. He heard Sean get out of bed. Sean announced that he would sleep in the guest room for a while. As he was leaving, he paused and asked Sterling what kind of body wash he used. Sterling, confused, told him he was just using Sean's. Sean frowned. He found it strange, he said, because on Sterling it smelled incredibly fragrant. Sean was attentive but maintained a deliberate distance, which Sterling was grateful for. He didn't have to worry about accidentally revealing his condition in the middle of the night. But as time went on, Sean started to notice things. He asked why Sterling was dressing in thicker and thicker clothes despite the summer heat. Sterling's belly was becoming more prominent each day, and he could only hide it under baggy, layered clothing. He claimed he was sensitive to the cold. Sean also noted that he was still getting sick and asked if he was taking his medicine. Sterling gave a non-committal yes. Frowning, Sean said he would make him some soup later. Sterling, checking his phone, told him to go ahead and eat, that he had to go out for a bit. It was time for his checkup. As he was leaving, Sean stopped him, sniffing the air again. He asked if Sterling was wearing cologne. Sterling smelled his own shirt. There was nothing. At the obstetrics clinic, the doctor adjusted his glasses and launched into a new theory. Based on recent global data, he explained human society appeared to be evolving into an alpha, beta, omega social structure. After a long-winded scientific explanation, Sterling cried out in dismay. The doctor was telling him he was pregnant because he had the cosmic bad luck to be one of the first people on Earth to differentiate into a weak, useless Omega. The doctor urged him to remain calm, explaining that it was still just a theory. The differentiation was only affecting a small portion of the population for now. Until it became a certainty, the clinic would maintain absolute secrecy. But to Sterling, being one of the only ones made it even more humiliating. The doctor instructed him to bring his alpha to the next appointment, as the risks for an Omega pregnancy were still unknown. He walked out of the office in a daze and saw Sean at the far end of the hall, walking directly toward him. Above his head, in large, unmissable letters, was the sign for the obstetrics and gynecology ward. Sean's face was a mask of shock. Sterling was equally horrified. He had to think fast. He couldn't let Sean know the patient was him. He was still clutching his medical report. He didn't even have a girlfriend he could use as a cover story. Just then, a young, beautiful pregnant woman walked past. Desperate, Sterling made a split-second decision. He rushed toward Sean, intercepting him. He pointed over his shoulder at the retreating woman and asked Sean how he knew he was at this hospital. He quickly explained he was here with his girlfriend for her checkup, but she had to run so they could leave now. He slung an arm around Sean's shoulders, trying to steer him away, but Sean was frozen in place, staring after the woman. Sterling prayed she would walk faster. He urged Sean to go, saying he was hungry. Sean's voice was strained. That was his girlfriend, the pregnant one? Overcome with guilt toward the random woman, Sterling nodded enthusiastically. But Sean remained rooted to the spot. As the woman drew nearer, Sterling was about to physically drag him away when Sean's shattered voice called out to her. "Mom!" Sterling hauled Sean out of there. Sean was broken. Sterling was broken. In a quiet stairwell, with Sean looking completely shell-shocked, Sterling tried to explain. He waved his hands frantically, saying it wasn't what he thought, that he didn't know it was his mother. Sean's eyes were vacant. Sterling shook his head vigorously, insisting there was nothing between them. Sean looked like he'd been hit by a truck. He mumbled that his mom had told him he was getting a little brother. At this point, no matter how mortified he was, Sterling knew he had to tell the truth to clear up this catastrophic misunderstanding. He confessed that he'd just picked a random person to be his cover. He took a deep breath, and in front of Sean, he lifted his shirt, revealing his swollen abdomen, his ears burning with shame. He was the one who was pregnant. The embarrassment was unlike anything he had ever felt. After explaining the whole ridiculous ABO theory, his face felt like a boiling kettle. Sean held the report with Sterling's name on it, his expression unreadable. He knelt and pressed his ear against Sterling's belly, which was considerably larger now. He reached out a hesitant hand to touch it, his brow furrowed. He asked who the father was. Sterling admitted he didn't know. Sean's expression fell. He asked if there had been many people. Sterling quickly denied it, saying it had only happened once. He was just so frustrated that he couldn't remember who it was. It was on his birthday, he explained. He had drunk too much. Sean shot upright, his eyes wide. My birthday? That was me. Sean was gay. Sterling could hear his heart hammering in his chest. Sean recounted the night. He had gone to Sterling's house to drop off a gift. Sterling was already drunk from the family party. His 3 brothers were arguing over him, and somehow, in the confusion, they had given the responsibility to Sean. He had helped Sterling to his room and was about to leave, but Sterling, his face flushed, had pulled him into a kiss and begged him for help. Sean confessed that he hadn't been able to refuse. The next day, he had sent a barrage of messages, but Sterling never replied. He assumed Sterling regretted it and was angry with him. Sterling explained that he'd lost his phone that night and gotten a new number the next day, so he never saw the messages. A look of pure joy spread across Sean's face. "My child," he whispered. The next moment, a strange, ecstatic smile on his face, he collapsed to the floor. At the hospital, after Sean was revived within 4 drip, the doctor explained he had fainted from extreme emotional whiplash. Sterling couldn't see where the joy part came in. It was all tragic. Gaining a son out of nowhere, with the child's mother being another man, seemed like a hellish scenario. He must have fainted from the sheer horror of it all. Back in the room, Sean clung to him, his body shaking with what Sterling assumed were sobs of despair, his tears dampening Sterling's stomach. Sterling patted his back, trying to comfort him. He told Sean not to be too upset, that he would never have to support the child, that he wouldn't be a burden. Sean slowly lifted his head. His tear-streaked face was alight with a bizarrely blissful smile. He gripped Sterling's shoulders, his eyes shining. "Support him? Of course I'll support him. That's all I want to do. I love supporting children." Sterling was convinced. He had actually broken Sean's brain. Despite the circumstances, Sean, ever the responsible one, threw himself into preparing for fatherhood. He spent his days making Sterling nutritious meals, researching thousands of parenting articles, and buying a mountain of baby clothes, formula, and toys. Sterling never would have guessed the cool upperclassman was such a kid person. Sean had transformed into a full-time caregiver. One morning, Sterling swung his legs over the side of the bed, but before his feet could touch the floor, they landed in Sean's hands. Sean told him the floor was too cold. He gently squeezed his foot, a ticklish sensation making Sterling flinch. Sean held on tighter, his long, elegant fingers wrapping around his ankle as he slipped a pair of thick, white cotton socks onto his feet. Sterling protested that he was a man, not some delicate flower. Sean just hummed in agreement, already back at the kitchen counter practicing how to mix formula. When he saw Sterling head for the bathroom, he dropped the bottle and rushed over, blocking the door. He offered to help him wash. Sterling's face flushed. He said that really wasn't necessary. But Sean held the sliding door open, his expression serious. He insisted it wasn't safe for Sterling to be in there alone, that he might slip and fall. He was worried about his son. Sterling promised to be careful and gently pushed Sean out, closing the door. He stripped off his clothes and looked at his round belly in the mirror. Sean had been so good to him lately, so attentive that Sterling had almost started to believe Sean cared about him, not just the baby in his belly. He was halfway through his shower when he realized the body wash was on a shelf just out of reach. As he stretched for it, his foot slipped on the bath mat. He yelped as he fell backward. The door burst open and Sean caught him, pulling him into a secure embrace. He was breathing hard, clearly terrified by the near accident he had been listening for. The steam had made Sterling's face hot and flushed. As their eyes met, Sterling quickly buried his face in Sean's chest. The humiliation was overwhelming. Or maybe it was something else. As he hid his face, his heart started beating erratically. The arm he was gripping was so strong, Sean's chest so firm and warm. He felt dizzy. He breathed deeply and looked up. Water droplets clung to Sean's dark hair. His features were sharp and defined, handsome in a way that suddenly felt electric. His heart was hammering, a frantic rhythm he told himself must be the baby kicking. Under Sean's gentle insistence, and with his cheeks burning the entire time, Sterling allowed him to finish washing him. Later, tucked in bed, his whole body felt warm. He grabbed one of Sean's pillows and buried his face in it, inhaling deeply. Smelled so good. The feeling of being cared for by Sean was nice. He was smiling as he drifted off to sleep when his phone chimed. It was a message from his father. He was informing Sterling that he had arranged a blind date for him that weekend. He reminded Sterling that he was the last straight man in the family and that his aging heart's only desire was to hold a grandchild. He laid the guilt on thick, reminding Sterling how he'd raised him like his own son. The next day, dressed in his baggiest sweatshirt, Sterling rushed home. He told his father he couldn't go on a blind date right now. His father slammed a hand on the dining table, announcing that Sterling's timing was perfect. He had some new information to share with all his sons. Adrian, Blake, and Cody, who were eating lunch, all looked up. His father explained that he had seen a news report that morning about humanity evolving and dividing into alphas, betas, and omegas. Sterling froze. His father clapped him on the shoulder, explaining that the girl he'd set him up with had already differentiated into an omega, and since Sterling was an alpha, they would be a perfect match. Blake looked skeptical, asking if Sterling had even differentiated yet. Their father shot him a withering look, stating with absolute certainty that any son of the Crawford family would obviously be an alpha. It wasn't even a question. A cold sweat broke out on Sterling's palms. He tried to protest again, but his father said the arrangements were already made. He went on the date, figuring it was a forced family arrangement for the girl too. They could just put on a show for their parents. But the girl didn't follow the script. She told him right away that she really liked him. He reminded her that their parents weren't there, that she didn't have to act. She blushed, insisting it was real. She said she felt they were a good match and shyly asked if his father had told him that she had differentiated into a sweet-smelling omega. Sterling sighed. He thought to himself that it was debatable which of them was sweeter. Her eyes lit up. She told him he was different from other guys. He was pregnant, so yes, that was true. She grabbed his arm, resting her head on his shoulder. She gushed about how he was so clean and fresh, not greasy like other guys, with a great personality. He pulled his arm away, telling her they really weren't a good fit. She pouted, threatening to pursue him relentlessly until he agreed. He tried to protest, but she covered her ears, chanting that she only wanted him, her alpha. He frowned and finally said it. He was an omega too. And he was pregnant. That evening, he stayed for dinner. Adrian had good news. He had differentiated into a top-tier alpha, a fact that surprised no one. Blake, however, was growing anxious. He asked their father what would happen if he turned out to be an omega. Their father's face turned livid. He declared that there would be no omegas in the Crawford family. His father and Adrian shared an intolerance for anything they perceived as weakness. This was the first time Sterling had seen his father this furious since he'd learned his other sons were gay. He had screamed at them then, telling them to leave his house if they weren't going to be normal. He launched into a tirade against Blake, finishing by roaring that any son who differentiated into an omega would be disowned. Then he slammed his silverware down and stormed out of the room. Sterling sat at the table, silent and shaken. A message from Sean came through. He was outside. Sterling had only told him it was a family dinner, and Sean had insisted on picking him up. As he got up to leave, Blake grabbed him from behind, his eyes narrowed. He told Sterling that something was off with him. He asked if he had already differentiated into an omega. Cody echoed the question, his voice laced with concern. Then Adrian spoke the word like a verdict. Omega. They were all staring at him. He shook Blake's arm off, his frustration boiling over. He accused them of already knowing, of knowing he was pregnant and deliberately taunting him. The three of them shot to their feet, their voices overlapping in a single, shocked question. "Sterling, you're pregnant?" He stormed out, furious at their feigned ignorance. They chased after him. Outside, Sean watched the bizarre scene unfold from his car. He asked why Sterling was ignoring his brothers. Sterling snapped that he had nothing to say to them and tried to get in the car, but Sean stopped him. He pointed out that having 3 men chasing their car down the street like zombies probably wasn't a good look. Sterling turned. The expressions on his brothers' faces were a mixture of shock, panic, and confusion. Sean gently suggested that he should probably clear the air. With Sean acting as a reluctant mediator, the misunderstanding was finally resolved. Blake genuinely hadn't known. He just liked being physically affectionate with his youngest brother, and it was Sterling's hormonal state that had made him hypersensitive. Cody confessed that he had been secretly recording Sterling's sleep-talking for years, ever since Sterling, who was adopted, had started having nightmares. He was working with a specialist to analyze them. And Adrian, for all his severity, was deeply protective. He had touched Sterling's stomach simply because he was pleased to see that he was finally filling out and looking healthy. He didn't want Sterling to inherit the company because he wanted him to live a carefree life. They had all told him to avoid spicy food because they'd seen him being sick and were worried about his stomach. Their physical contact was no different than when they were kids. A later call with his doctor confirmed that his pregnancy hormones were likely causing anxiety and paranoia. Each of his brothers loved him in their own way, and he had misjudged them completely. He apologized. Blake just laughed it off. Cody nodded, saying the important thing now was to hide the baby from their father until it was born. Adrian shot Sean a dark, unreadable glare. Over the next few months, he was pampered by 4 different people. His brothers showered him with supplements and healthy food, while Sean managed his day-to-day care. He knew, however, that his father would never accept him now that he was an Omega. In the delivery room, a nurse tried to comfort him. She said his situation wasn't so bad. She explained that while differentiation was supposed to happen in adulthood once the ABO system stabilized, it was currently chaotic, affecting people of all ages. Just that day, she gossiped, a middle-aged man in his 40s had come in, having suddenly differentiated into an Omega and become pregnant. The nurse clicked her tongue, saying he'd fainted from shock and had just woken up from sedation. Her voice dropped to a whisper as she pointed toward the hallway. And there, on a gurney being wheeled past, was his father. With his father also an Omega, he lost all authority to condemn Sterling. He became quiet and subdued. After Sterling's baby was born safely, Blake cheekily told their father to work hard, because he was ready to welcome a 5th brother. His father kicked at him, telling him to get lost. Blake yelped a not to upset the fetal chi. The yard was filled with the sounds of their loud, chaotic family, but Sterling's gaze was fixed on Sean, who was expertly holding the baby. A sigh escaped his lips. They had accepted the child, but they still didn't know the truth. It had all been an accident. Sean didn't actually like him. Sterling had been the one to initiate things on his birthday. Sean had only taken care of him out of a sense of responsibility for the baby. Now that the baby was here, there was no reason for them to be together. That night, after they had returned to Sean's apartment and the baby was asleep, Sterling packed a bag and fled into the darkness. It wasn't an impulsive decision. He was a coward when it came to love. He had fallen for Sean. Sean wanted a child, and now he had one. His father wanted a grandchild, and now he had one. Sterling loved Sean, but he was just the vessel. Other Omegas in stories ran away with the baby. He was running away from it. He reasoned that even though his adoptive brothers were gay, he wasn't related by blood. He couldn't have inherited some gay gene. He tried to convince himself that his feelings for Sean were just a hormonal illusion. If he could just get away, move to a new city, and reset, he could surely straighten himself out. He ended up in a small, cozy town in Vermont, rented a room, and threw away his SIM card. But after a few days, his body began to betray him. A strange heat started to build inside him, his temperature spiking. He was constantly sweating, his body aching and weak, and a strange, throbbing pressure emanated from the back of his neck. His breathing grew shallow and rapid. Worst of all, his attempt to forget Sean had backfired spectacularly. His mind was filled with him. At night, he clutched his pillow, imagining it was Sean, whispering apologies to the inanimate object for what he was about to do. This intense longing and physical dependence on Sean was maddening. His symptoms grew worse until he could barely move, trapped in bed by a relentless fever. He managed to crawl to his bag and find a burner phone, his fingers fumbling as he dialed his doctor's number. He croaked out his symptoms, asking what was happening to him. The doctor's voice was sharp with alarm. He demanded to know where his alpha was. He explained that Sterling's body was already weak from childbirth, and now he was going through his first fever cycle without his partner. The combination was incredibly dangerous. When the doctor asked what he was going to do, Sterling mumbled that he would just have to ride it out, that he couldn't bother Sean for this. The doctor's voice became frantic. He yelled that there was no riding it out, that the suppressant patches for omegas hadn't been perfected yet. He had to get back to his alpha immediately for soothing, or the consequences could be dire. Sterling hung up. He could endure it. He passed out from the pain and heat. The next day, he woke up feeling like he was suffocating. He decided some fresh air might help. He stumbled out of his room to find a place to eat. In the narrow, tight alleyway behind his building, he had to lean against the brick wall to stay upright. A deep male voice suddenly sounded behind him. An omega in fever, wandering around and broadcasting his scent. Naughty, naughty. Before he could turn, a hand clamped onto his waist. Hot breath ghosted across his cheek. The man chuckled, saying it looked like it was his lucky day. Panic seized Sterling. He tried to tell the man to leave him alone, but his limbs were weak, his head spinning. The man inhaled deeply, right next to his neck, and growled about how delicious he smelled. Just as the man's mouth opened to bite his neck, a blur of motion sent him flying. Sean was there. He caught Sterling as his legs gave out, pulling him into a fierce embrace. Hot tears fell from Sean's eyes onto his neck. Sean's voice was a choked whisper. "Honey, I missed you so much." From the end of the alley, his three brothers charged in. Blake's eyes were red with fury as he bellowed at the man on the ground. The normally gentle Cody grabbed a loose brick and hurled it. Adrian pinned the man to the ground with one hand, using the other to light a cigarette he held between his teeth. He took a drag, then looked down at the man with cold indifference. This hand? A sharp crack echoed in the alley as the man's arm was dislocated. Adrian's gaze, usually so severe when directed at Sterling, softened as he looked up. "Star," he asked, "where else did he touch you?" The words barely registered before the world went black. He woke up back in Sean's apartment, enveloped in a scent that felt like safety. He was in Sean's arms, surrounded by his pillows and blankets. He tried to sit up, but Sean gently pushed him back down. He asked how they found him. Sean explained that the doctor had called them, and they had tracked his burner phone. So Sean knew everything. Sean confirmed it, adding that the doctor said he needed his alpha's soothing and more intimate contact. Sterling panicked, assuring Sean it was fine, that he didn't need to trouble himself, that he could get through the fever on his own. Sean just looked at him. You've been permanently marked by me. It's my job to help you through this." Sterling insisted he didn't have to, that he knew the first time was an accident and Sean didn't need to feel guilty. He just needed a little more time to get over his crush on him. Realizing what he'd just said, he slapped a hand over his mouth. A slow smile spread across Sean's face. "You like me?" Sterling denied it, stammering that he was almost over it. Sean asked why he ran away. His face burning, Sterling mumbled that he wanted to try and be straight again. Sean asked why. "Because I was afraid you didn't like me." Sean lifted his chin and captured his lips in a kiss. "Who said anything about guilt? That night was the best damn accident of my life." Sterling was stunned. This wasn't the cool, reserved Sean he knew. He was acting completely out of character. Sean just smirked against his lips, his kisses trailing down his jaw to his neck. "You'll see a lot more out of character in this bed." A tingling sensation spread from the back of his neck as Sean's hand slipped into his sweatpants, his fingers brushing against his waistband. Sterling arched his back, gasping for air. Sean pinned his wrists above his head. "Relax, Sterling. And don't you ever leave me and our son again. Fool. I've been in love with you for a long time.